Hi, okay, I wasn't sure if I'm going to make a guide for this stage, but I figured I might as well. I've been kind of retrying the stage over and over, trying to get a consistent run, so might as well make a guide out of the footage that I have. This stage, by the way, unlocks Bubble Cat, which is the true form for Phantom Cat. It is a powerful, stackable LD unit with massive damage against 2 typing, floating and angels. It is very good against its typing, and it's generally just a pretty good ranged LD unit that is also usable for 4-star restrictions. Now let's talk about the structure of the stage. The stage kind of has like 3 phases, and each phase has the main enemy Zonel in it. Zonel is a zombie LD enemy with 4 knockback counts and infinite revives, so you're going to have to Z-kill Zonel before going into every phase. Zonel isn't marked as a boss in the stage, so it can get knocked back behind the base, so be careful to not trigger the next phase before killing Zonel with a Z-kill. If you trigger the next phase without Z-killing Zonel, then you're just gonna have to deal with 2 Zonels in one phase. It's very much not preferable. Alright, so the first phase is basically just on timer. It is just Zonel with a couple of Dark Doges and Gabriels. This is just for money. The Dark Doges are infinite, the Gabriels are not. Just Z-kill Zonel before you go into the next phase, save up some money, make sure you don't overkill the Doges or else you might not be able to get a Z-kill off. Once you Z-kill Zonel, you hit the base, you move on to the next phase. Another Zonel will appear, and this time, aside from Gabriel and Dark Doges, there will also be accompanied by Angelic Gories and Shadowboxer K. The Angelic Gory will spawn first, and then Shadowboxer K will appear after a delay. You just deal with the peons, try to Z-kill Zonel, then you move on to the third phase, in which you're going to be facing against Saint Dober. Saint Dober is a pretty big pain in the ass. It is a pretty tanky surge enemy with an Omni Strike. Saint Dober pushes pretty hard too. You don't want to deal with both Saint Dober and Zonel at the same time. It is going to be a huge trouble. So what you want to do is you're going to want to lure Saint Dober and then burst Saint Dober down before pushing Zonel back. Oh yeah, there's also z-onel in the third phase, but honestly, you're probably not going to remember that enemy even exists in the first place, so don't worry about it, it's fine. The first 2 phases, you don't really have any super specific general strategy that you're going to have to like keep in mind or whatever. Really, the only main thing that you need to keep in mind is that you just have to Z-kill the Zonel, really, that's it. You can like lure the peons, you can fight instantly on the base or whatever, just be smart about it depending on whatever units you're bringing. Another thing to keep in mind is to not overkill the peons with rushers when dealing with the peons. If you use units that are just too tanky or too rushy or too powerful, they might end up living too long and get inside Zonel's blind spot and potentially steal the Z-kill from your Z-killers. Preferably, you want these units to die before the peon waves are finished, so that you can isolate Zonel and kill Zonel with a Z-killer safely. The only other main things that you need to keep in mind are all in the third phase. Remember, you want to lure Saint Dober to separate it from Zonel, then burst Saint Dober down as quickly as possible before Zonel reaches your units. When triggering the third phase, if you have too many units on the field, then the Saint Dober might take too long to move away from Zonel, and you might not have enough time to burst Saint Dober down. So going into the third phase, try to minimize any units left on the field to make sure that Saint Dober is able to move towards your base without any resistance. You want as much distance between Zonel and Saint Dober as much as possible. Remember that. Also, if a Gabriel or Dark Doges appear before Saint Dober and it's like in front of Saint Dober, then you can use these Doges to stack your CC units or your Sanzo or Julius or whatever. You can use your base to base tank and protect your units as you stack up whatever debuffers that you have. If you're wondering about base tanking, I have a whole video about it. Go watch that video if you're interested in that topic. But yeah, anyways, that's about it for the main tips of the battle. As for recommended units, the number 1 unit I would absolutely recommend to bring is Shagong. Shagong is mainly for Z-killing Zonel and also doubling down as a meat shield. In general, there's a lot of other Z-killer units out there, but especially in the non-Uber category, most of them can't really reliably get inside Zonel's range unless you do like specific lures and stuff like that. However, those are generally harder to pull off, it's not as reliable and might potentially sacrifice health from your base, but you want to have as much base health as possible going into the third phase preferably. Another really good unit here is Talented CAT. It is really good for the SBK on the second phase. It is also just really good in general to deal with the first 2 phases. It cleans off Dark Doges very easily and without being able to damage Zonel too hard. Even if it gets inside Zonel's blind spot, since its damage isn't too high, it is unlikely to steal the Z-kill from Shagong. You can also use Courier or something, but I think CAT works way better. The rest of the lineup should mainly be used to counter the Saint Dober Saint-Ober itself. You should bring something to burst the Saint-Ober down, and you should also bring something to perma-freeze or perma-slow it. If your Bahamut has the explosion talent, absolutely bring him. I mean, okay, even if he doesn't have the explosion talent, you should probably still bring him anyways. But the explosion talent would be basically making the burst significantly easier, I would say. Another unit that would make this significantly easier is Cafeteria Cat, the true form for Delivery Cat. This unit deals a crazy amount of damage to angel enemies. Other obvious choices would be something like Mushroom Cat. Lesser obvious choice would be something like Manic Flying, Dark Laser, and Royal Guard. Yes, seriously, you want to bring anything that can just burst Saint-Ober down really quickly, even if it means bringing units that aren't even anti-angels. But remember that you still need to put Saint-Ober in some sort of perma-slow or perma-freeze state to make sure that it won't kill your units. So units like Sanzo, Juliet, Little Dark, or First Form Momotaro, all of these are good to keep Saint-Ober from attacking. If you want consistency, I would say Sanzo is the way to go. It stacks up as fast, especially with Research Combo, has a good range, fast attack, but relying on Sanzo without freeze means that you cannot bring units with too low range. Don't spawn short range meat shield, don't spawn your Shigong, don't spawn Manic Eraser or whatever, because it could potentially trigger Saint-Ober's Omni Strike. Generally, you want high damaging units with at least around 200 range just to be safe. If you're using freeze units like Juliet or Little Dark, then you are able to bring more melee oriented units like Balrog or even freaking Manic Dark Cat, seriously. But from my experience, freeze units aren't as reliable as Sanzo. I find Sanzo to be the most reliable debuffer out of them all. You could bring both like Sanzo and Juliet at the same time, but you're also going to have to compensate for damage. Juliet does help in the damage department, but you'll probably still want more. Of course, any Uber nuker units, Uber anti-angels would help if it's a freeze or slow angel unit, as long as it is consistent, it absolutely would help. Momotaro, Kaguya, First Form, whatever, anything that deals massive damage against angel, like Jizo, Kalissa, you get this stuff. As for combos, the main two choices are Research Combo or Damage Combo. If you're more Uber oriented, then I would gravitate towards Damage Combo, but if you are bringing more spam units, then gravitate towards Research Combo. Research Combo is also really good for the production of Shigong, which helps in stalling as a meat shield and for Z killing Zonel more consistently. Also, I have a video about Research Combo. Go watch that video if you're interested about Research Combo. Another important thing that you need to consider is cannon choices. Cannon choices are actually very important here. The three main cannon choices I would say are either Slow Beam, Thunderbolt, or Holy Blast. I would highly recommend going with Slow Beam, especially if it's a similar level of Thunderbolt. Slow Beam would help a lot in helping the initial stack to actually get the perma-slow or perma-freeze off. It allows you to deal with Saint-Ober much more consistently with much less RNG needed. Another thing to keep in mind about Slow Beam is that Slow Beam hits the entire stage, meaning that it would also slow Zonel down. So you get extra time in between Zonel actually coming in and hitting your units. Just don't spawn any short range units on Saint-Ober if you're using slow. The other choices are Thunderbolt. If you're using Thunderbolt, it's mainly because you're probably using Little Dark. Really, that's pretty much the only reason if you want to bring Thunderbolt over Slow Beam, unless your Thunderbolt is just way more higher level than Slow Beam, I guess. The third choice is Holy Blast. Holy Blast allows you to cancel ZONEL'S attack if it is going to attack your stack, and even potentially knock it back. This gives you extra time to burst Saint-Ober down, which is very helpful if you don't have enough damage. But bringing Holy Blast also means that you don't have anything to assist you on getting the initial perma-slow or perma-freeze off, which means that you're potentially going to have to deal with some RNG shenanigans. Your debuffer units better be very consistent. But Holy Blast is also really good for the first two phases, as even if you like accidentally have some strong units inside ZONEL'S blind spot without like having enough Shigong, then it is possible for you to snipe the ZONEL off with Holy Blast to just save the run, essentially. Honestly, I think Slow Beam is the generally best pick here as long as you have good enough level on it. Obviously, don't use it if you only have it at level 1. Holy Blast is also not bad since it has utility value, but I would say Slow Beam is the more better pick for consistency. But yeah, that's about it for the stage. The stage is just an RNG and damage check at the same time. The real challenge is just phase 3 with Saint Ober, but if you have good enough RNG to keep Saint Ober in place and a high enough burst damage to kill Saint Ober before Zonel crushes your stack, then you're good. That's really about it. The stage honestly kind of sucks, because it is an RNG fest with a very long start off. It's like a 5-minute start off for the stage that could potentially just be wasted away if you don't have good enough RNG. It's pretty frustrating. But yeah, good luck. Seriously, you're going to need it. Anyways, that's about it. If you have any thoughts or questions, ask it in the comments, and I'll catch you another time. See ya.